Okay, I'll just say hello while it's coming up. So, thank you. So, I think my time is starting. I'm Paul Cubbon. I'm an instructor in the Sauder School of Business, and I'm going to talk to you about flipping classrooms flexibly. This is not a language I knew when we started this experiment 4 years ago. It's based on a first-year course, which we've now run 20 times. What we found is as we went to other places, a lot of people, when they started to design more engaging courses, they found that they were doing things which are now called flexible learning, blended learning, flipping classrooms, and so on. And what we were doing was we were trying fundamentally to tap the latent passion that I knew that students had for learning. You know, when people were bored, they really said they were frustrated that they hadn't been engaged. And so I've worked closely with an accounting professor colleague, Jeff Croker, and with Drew Paulin, one of my colleagues in learning design in Sauder, and we have now run this 20 times over 4 years with over 2,000 students. So the basic premise that we see all the time, the sleeping students, if you walk behind the screens, of course they're not sleeping, most of them are actually doing stuff, it's just that you haven't engaged them. And my basic premise was FaceTime is valuable, why are we wasting it? What can we avoid doing in class and do online? How can we get from stuck in a rut to the unlecture? So unlecture was our mantra, and I realized the textbook publishers hate me. I don't use any textbooks now because I realized that the textbooks and the slide decks were enslaving me. And we needed to start over with an experimental design and then selectively bring in materials. We don't just use tools to deliver through LMSs. We use a lot of blogs and back channels. We use a Twitter-like back channel, PulsePress, which our friends here at CTLT helped design for us, which has been great. And so we have everybody really live and engaged during the class. As we move on, this was what the original concept looked like. We basically said we're going to move down to kind of 2 15-minute lecturettes in 80 minutes. And so that seemed like a good idea to make room for exercises and debriefing of them and the things we've heard from colleagues today. What actually happened was that when we went to do this, we found that our time was even more constrained, and we spent about 10 minutes rushing through these concepts. We rushed through the exercises because the time just kind of got drawn into conversation, 100-plus person classroom. And so we said, goodness me, we don't even have 10 minutes to cover our material. This is ridiculous. And then we said, well, rather than seeing that as a problem, what if we were actually to not have any time in class? We actually have taken 2 minutes here just to reference back the online preparation, a bit like you've heard from some of the other presenters here today, though I don't know that we do it as elegantly yet. And then we spend our time in class on activities and exercises. And again, I'm going to steal that idea of telling people they're doing their homework early. So what are we doing? We're trying to put the lecture online and apply the knowledge in class. We're trying to chunk the videos. Again, our videos are also short, the ones we've talked about, and they're linked in with readings and with some self-assessment quizzes. And again, I've seen some things today that I'm going to steal. And what are we seeing at the moment? Higher level engagement. What are we trying to do is we're trying to move forward. That's just a clip from one of the videos. I can show it to you later if you want. We're trying to really build out a whole series, a whole suite of courses that can cover breadth and depth, and that can be kind of pulled from by different instructors in different courses. What does the student interface look like? In our first iteration, it was pretty crude. Basically what we had was kind of some instructions around readings, a video, a self-assessment quiz, which again wasn't for grades, so they could redo it. If they really kept getting it wrong, they could get a tip about where to go in the video or the readings, and so that's what it looked like. The video example, dint of time, I'm not going to show you the video, but you'll get a couple of screenshots. What we tried to do was we said we thought high quality was important, so we storyboarded and scripted. I've got a background in advertising, so we storyboarded, scripted, shot against green screen, and then animated afterwards with a student who's very talented in that. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to replace the majority of conventional lecture material. We want to put the time into in-class exercises, reflection, discussion. And so far, most of the feedback we've had from students has been positive, though again, there are some extremes, and we also got one or two that said, we hate, we hate, we hate, but they were the small minority. What we found for the most part was, to my surprise, and I need to now go back and get harder data on this, but anecdotally I found that students were doing better work more quickly in class, and again this was through worksheet type activities which we were able to evaluate. If I move on, we don't have to create all this ourselves. It takes a lot of time. So there are examples of many people out there that are doing good work. This is based on an entrepreneurship course that's been created by Steve Blank out of Berkeley. And basically, I am curating that, interspersing it with other stuff. I'm never going to create this material myself. It's world class. I think it's a modern version of a textbook. And so the Steve Blank example, in fact, if you read the Harvard Business Review, it's the cover article of this month's issue. And he has done an exemplary job. At the moment, it's free material. Frankly, even if it was a subscription basis, I would have my students subscribe to that rather than to a textbook. And these are just examples of his style, appearing animation style. So what we've found so far, flexible flipping, because apparently that's what we're doing, it can have a large impact on student engagement and learning. Experiments are good. I think this is a kind of we're 4 years into an experiment, which I think is going to be a good decade in the running, and we're making some mistakes. One of the things I'm trying to do in terms of engagement is show students enough of something that they can start to put things together, but that they can actually ask questions. I don't want to tell them everything. And so we basically, in our first year course, we say there are no correct answers here, but we want you to ask good questions. It's a real challenge. I've got a real bias that coming out of high school, they've been kind of drummed into there's only a right answer. So kind of in final closure, lecturing is comfortable. I mean, it may not be very much fun, but it's comfortable. And the slide deck is the safety net. If you get rid of the safety net, it's really uncomfortable. But if you can get comfortable with being uncomfortable, it can be really liberating. I think it's a real opportunity, therefore, for us to redesign and refocus, as many of the other speakers have said today, on the real goal of learning. And if technology enables that, fantastic, but it's not about the technology, it is about the learning. Thank you.